All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Team Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet ITA Record Keeping Webinar. Just a few housekeeping things here as we get started. One, everybody is muted. So if you have any questions on any of this content as we work our way through it, please type those questions in the chat menu. It is being moderated, and at the end of our presentation, we will go through and address all of those questions for everyone. Additionally, we will have a posting of this webinar recording available on our website, and I will cover that address at the end of our presentation, so you can review that at your leisure. And then real quick, just so everyone's aware, our training courses are designed to assist you in complying with the OSHA regulations. Because of the variations that can occur due to on-site conditions or performance criteria, it is impossible for any course to cover every aspect of those potential variations. Therefore, this course does not cover everything a person should know about a particular subject, nor does it qualify anyone as a competent or qualified person. However, our courses do cover part of the information that any person must know to be effective in applying safety and health standards and practices to circumstances in the workplace. So especially with this training, please understand it is a very limited training specific to the ITA, which is only a small portion of the overall record-keeping standard for OSHA. What specifically we will be covering today is discussing exactly what the OSHA ITA is, who it applies to, what's changing about it, some background on why these changes are occurring. We'll discuss the effective dates for the changes and when they're implemented, and then cover the due dates. So first of all, the OSHA ITA is the injury tracking application by federal OSHA. All programs, whether state or federal, have to adopt this, but it is managed and run by federal OSHA. It's designed for high hazard industries and large employers specifically, and it's where those employers have to go to annually submit their 300A summaries for their OSHA record keeping logs. So the most important thing is to figure out who this is applicable to. Do you have to do this? The easiest way to answer that question is, let's navigate to the website together. This is a screenshot of what it looks like when you go to this link. So let's click on the link. I will bring my screen up so everyone can see it. And here we go. So right here, when you get to the login screen, you'll see injury tracking application login right there in the top left corner. If you scroll down here, it will tell you the covered establishments. So we can just slowly work our way through these 3 bullet points to determine applicability of the ITA to each individual employer. So with what we're talking about here, keep in mind we are talking about at the establishment level. For clarity, imagine if you're a fast food franchise owner and you have 3 or 4 different locations. Each different location is an establishment. So corporate level, everybody that's under your corporate entity. Establishment level, each unique individual establishment. So for ITA purposes, we're looking at that establishment level for things. So if at any time during the previous calendar year, the peak employment at that establishment was 19 or fewer, you do not have to submit OSHA ITA 300A summaries. If the establishment is listed on Appendix A to Subpart B of OSHA's record-keeping regs, you also do not have to submit anything via the OSHA ITA. And Appendix A to Subpart E are just industries that are partially exempt. So if you take your NAICS code, which is normally 6 digits in length, and you look at the first 4 digits, if your first 4 digits of NAICS appear anywhere on this list, then you do not have to submit any OSHA 300A summaries via the injury tracking application. And then lastly, if the establishment has between 20 and 249 employees, and you're not listed on Appendix A to Subpart E, you also do not have to submit OSHA 300A summaries. So this list is for any employers that have between 20 and 249 employees. If you're listed on this list and you have these headcounts, and remember that's peak employment at the establishment level. So if you're that fast food franchisee and one location has 15 employees all calendar year, and then you've got a larger location and they have 40, they fall between that 20 and 249. And if that establishment location NAICS happens to show up on this list, you'll have a circumstance where one of your establishments does not have to submit 300A summaries, and then the larger one whose NAICS appears on this list and has employee headcounts, peak headcounts, between 20 and 249 employees, they will have to submit. And then, of course, anybody with greater than 250 employees would have to submit their OSHA 300A summaries, provided that they're not on this Appendix A to Subpart B list, and that's the list of partially exempt employer industries. So that's the easiest way to break down your applicability. So just to recap real fast, if you have 19 or fewer employees at your establishment, you do not have to submit. If your establishment NAICS is listed on Appendix A to Subpart B, this NAICS, you do not have to submit. And if you have between 20 and 249 employees and you're not listed on Appendix A to Subpart E, you don't have to submit. So those that have to submit are employers with establishments that have 250 or more employees, or those with between 20 and 249 employees that are listed on the subpart. So that's the easiest way to determine applicability to the ITA. Now there is one more thing to look at once you know that portion of whether or not you have to do it. The part B is if your establishment has 100 or more employees and your NAICS is listed on Appendix B to Subpart E, not only will you have to submit your 300A summary logs, you will have to submit information from your 301s and your 300 logs as well. So if we click on this link, it'll pull up another list, and all of this will be 4 digits for the NAICS code. And if you have 100 or more employees at the establishment level, and these are the first 4 digits of your NAICS code, then you will have to submit not only your 300A summary, but also some 301 and some 300 data related to your business. So why are these changes occurring? For several reasons, and these are all cited through Federal OSHA's website, is one, to improve data quality. So the Federal Labor Cabinet has more clarity, can have a better idea of what's going on in these high hazard industries that have high injury and illness rates. They will publish some of this information on a general public website. So employees or prospective employees can go and they can look and see what the health and safety conditions are like. So researchers can go in and they can statistically look at the data. And so our consultation groups and our enforcement groups for OSHA can do targeted outreach and help partner with these employers to create safer working conditions for their employees. Honestly, the thought process is that this will really help to reduce the injuries and illnesses that OSHA sees in these high-risk industries. So when did these changes go into effect? They have. These changes went into effect the first of the year, so January 1st, 2024. It is effective. You can log in today. If you have not logged in before, you can create a login, or you can log in with your previous year's login. And then you'll see that these changes are available there. So once you log in and you update your CSV files appropriately, and it gives you a process, a walkthrough process on it. Unfortunately, with it being a federal program and us here in Kentucky in a state program, we don't have a lot of visibility to work with it. But once you log in, it'll take you step by step on what you need to do. And all of these submissions and due dates fall in line with what the previous 300 days were. So if you are one of those employers with those high hazard NAICS codes on that new appendix with 100 or more employees, you'll just have to submit that additional 301 and 300 data alongside the traditional 300A you were submitting by March 2nd of this year. Here's just a little side-by-side reference of the changes. Prior to this change that went into effect the first of this year, establishments that had that 100 or more employees in the designated industries simply fell in that group of 20 to 249 employees. This new list is just them narrowing down those NAICS codes to slightly more specific industries. But previously they would have submitted only 300 A's. Now those specific ones will have to submit 300 A's, 300s, and 301s. There's been no change in Appendix A at all. Those folks that aren't on this Appendix B list will still submit their normal 300 A's. No change with the large establishment employers that have 250 or more employees at their establishments. Those you still only have to do the 300 A's. This is one new change that's important to note, is that there's a legal name requirement. So from now on, you'll have to include the legal name of that establishment as part of your submission. There are no changes to Appendix A, and Appendix B is new, and that's just that new list that we looked at on the previous slide for the employers that have to submit the 301 and the 300 data in addition to the 300A. And now keep in mind, these headcounts for all peak employment. So if you're an establishment and you get like a back to college rush, or if you get like a summer rush and your peak employment exceeds those numbers, it's whatever your highest headcount is for that calendar year to make these determinations. Now, as you get in there and start working on these, you're probably going to run into questions. We all do. Use this website as my best recommendation for a resource for the ITA. If you go to this website and pull it up, it pulls up the injury tracking application. It's got a great how-to section that walks you through it. This tells you all of the information you need for the CSV upload. It's got the 300A info, the 300 and 301. It's got a checklist for you so you can stay on top of what all of the requirements are. And then if you have challenges with the ITA account, it's got that here. You can launch the application, and if you need to make changes or create logins, that's there. And then they have an FAQ section, which is super helpful. It can walk you through all of that right here. If you need to create an account, if you've never done it before, if you're submitting data for multiple clients, like if you're a consultation group and you handle multiple businesses, that's an option. If you go through here and you cannot find an answer that is published, you can always click on this help request form, and it tells you right here that you've looked through all the FAQs and there's not a solution for your particular problem, and it'll direct you on the next steps in order to get support and assistance. So phenomenal resource on that. And again, for reference, this is published to our website that I will cover here. If you guys want to take a look at any of this content later on. But that, in a nutshell, are the changes that went into effect this calendar year for the injury tracking application. If you go to our website, kysafe.ky.gov, you can click on this e-training. This is what the website looks like. If you look all the way to the right side of the screen where it says Learning Online, you can click on the Learn More and you can select the webinar from there to view it. While you're there, please feel free to check out our other services. We provide free confidential services to employers throughout the state. We provide on-site training, web training. We do consultative surveys, and it's all free and confidential to help those employers be compliant with OSHA regulations and matters of health and safety in general. So thank you again for joining our webinar presentation today. And we will take a brief break for about 1 minute, and then we will go through any questions that are posed in our chat room. And thank you all for your attendance and your time this morning. Have a great day. All right, everybody. Thank you for that little bit of a break. And now let us get to the questions. Looks like the first one, Mr. Mike Lucas, you want to submit yesterday, and you only had the option to submit 300 A's. So is that all I need to do? Unfortunately, without me having more information surrounding your business, NAICS code, and your employee headcounts, I can't make that determination based off of that. So if you want to send that to me in chat, I can take a look at it as a private message here in a little bit and help you make that determination, sir. For Carl Ackland, does this require us to submit the 300A for 2023 or just for injuries and illnesses for 2024? This requires you to submit your 300A for 2023. And if your establishment is that 100 or more employees and your NAICS is listed on that Appendix B, you will also have to submit your 300 ones and 300 data. For Mr. Pruitt, if submitted in the ITA, do we still need to submit to state OSHA? To my knowledge, Mr. Pruitt, unless you've received a request from OSHA or the BLS, the OSHA records that you have would only be kept and maintained by you for the 5-year requirement or submitted via the ITA. There's not a standing paper submission to state OSHA to my knowledge. For Craig Bennett, the legal name is the legal entity for the FEIN number or something different. The legal name is whatever the business is registered as with the licensing agencies. On the peak employment count, it is physical heads, by the way. So regardless of hours worked or salary or anything else, it's how many physical heads do you have? Do you have 20 human beings that work there or 50 human beings that work there? 2 part-timers wouldn't add up to 1 full-time head. It's not an FTE calculation, it's physical human beings. Todd Chapman, if our entity includes one of the NAICS codes showing in the 20 to 249, do they then need to report for everyone in that entity or only the ones included in that NAICS number? Todd Chapman, if I understand your question, sir, it's based off of establishment. So that 20 to 249, if you're on that list, and let's say you have the 20 to less than 100, you would submit the 300 A's just for that physical establishment. Now, if you have the above 100, you would submit the 300 A's. And if that above 100 establishment NAICS code is on that Appendix B list that I showed you to Subpart E, you'll also have to add the 301s and the 300. For Anthony Carnes, on peak employment, is that the total number of employees per year or the highest at any one time? It's your highest peak employment. Craig, I'm not for sure what you are talking about with the hours calculation for the employee count. Everything that I have always done has been a physical employee head count, and payroll is usually able just to pull up a roster of employees through whichever pay systems you're using. That's the way that we've gone about it. Now we've done hours worked calculations and things, but that's been a little different. Okay, Santiago, it says we received a paper copy of the logs from OSHA. It said the company's willing to file a paper copy. For what it sounds like you received, Santiago, for the paper copy of the logs, it sounds like you were selected to do a survey request. So read that form, and whatever that form instructs you to do is what you are obligated to do. So if they want paper copies for whatever their purposes are, then that's what they need. You would have to reach out to that group that sent you the paperwork to see if you could submit that information online and if that would be sufficient. No problem. Okay, everybody. I just put my email address in the chat. So for Craig, I know you were looking for a link on these hours calculation, and I'm happy to help you address that. And anybody else that's still in the webinar recording, please copy my email address, shoot me an email with your questions or any information, and I'm happy to take that offline and dig a little bit deeper with any questions that we have. I'll give you guys about 60 more seconds. If anybody has any other questions or things that they want me to look at or bounce off of me real quick, and then we'll adjourn and then we can take everything offline. Okay, give me 1 second, Candace. Let me look at my information for your NAICS. So yes, Miss Baker, 331210. I am not seeing on the list. There it is. So 3312 steel product manufacturing from purchased steel is on the list. So with it being on the list, if you have between 20 and less than 100, you'll do the 300 A's. If you have more than the 100, you'll do the 300 A's, the 301s, and the 300s. So you'll do the full suite. Now, with the Wisconsin thing, off the top of my head, I'm not sure if they are a state or federal only program. So like in Kentucky, we're a state program and federal. So yeah, if they're a federal program, it's follow the normal federal program guidelines. You don't have to worry about any state stuff. You're good to go. All right, Mr. Chapman, I am sorry. I did not notice a question. Okay, got you. So in your circumstance, if you're a government, like a city or county government, I'm assuming is what this is. If that's the case, you as a government as a whole is the corporation. So if you have more than 10 government officials, you are applicable to OSHA record keeping. And now each of these different things that you've mentioned, waste management, ambulance, your road department, your general court office, each of those is a separate different NAICS code. So you would have to look up the waste management NAICS and they'd have their own set of 300 logs, 301s, 300 A's. Same for the ambulance, same for the roads. So they'd have to be separated like that. And the best way to find that NAICS code is you can go to any number of websites that offer this, whatever your favorite search engine is. I'm not endorsing one over the other. This is the one that I probably use most commonly. Doesn't make it the best of the preferred. So it was just saved in my lookup box. But you can just type it in here. So if you go to this website, which is census.gov/NAICS, you can type in something generic and broad like waste, and then you can look at all of the various waste codes for NAICS. And let's say that you guys do nuclear wastes, because that sounds interesting. You click on that NAICS, if that's the one that seems most applicable, and it'll give you more detailed information. So this tells you primarily what that type of NAICS code does. Now, if that's not the right one, then back up and punt again. So for your waste, you probably fall into the 562 category, something like these waste collection services or non-hazardous solids. So you'd have to look through these waste codes here and make your determination. So then, yes, what in theory should happen, and without me actually physically looking at these establishments and head counts and everything, I'm just going based off of what you say. So based off of this scope of information that I have, it appears that what you would need to do is you'd submit the 300A summary for your ambulance service or EMS, whatever the case is. And then your other ones, you would have your physical paper logs that you would keep there on your person. And if none of them meet the criteria, you wouldn't have to do any other submissions other than the ambulance. Not a problem. All right. So then again, I will pull this back up because I think we're sharing screens. Boom. There is my email address right there in the light blue. Thank you guys again so much. Oh, hold on. Well, the moderator's pointed. You're a construction and road construction company with more than 250 employees. Well, let me see. Is that one physical establishment? Because when you say a company, do you like break it up? Do you have a construction group with a physical address and then you've got a different like road construction company that's under the same corporate umbrella? It kind of depends on how that breaks out because we're talking establishment level. So if you're a large construction employer, you may have multiple establishments that are slightly different NAICS. Okay. Do you know your NAICS code by chance off the top of your head? Or the first 4 digits of it anyway? So here is the Appendix B to Subpart E list. 27310. Okay. Well, that's the same conclusion I came to on it. Hannah, good job. So 2373 is not on the Appendix B list. So then in your case, if it's one establishment and you have greater than 250, and if that is your correct, accurate NAICS code, you're not on the list, all you would have to do is submit the 300 A's. Not a problem at all. Lauren, yes. The only thing that changed is if your establishment has 100 or more employees and is on this Appendix B to Subpart E list. So if yours is under 100, nothing has changed for you. So you can keep on keeping on the way you have been. Not a problem. All right, everybody. Well, again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar with us. We really appreciate it. And if we can assist and support you in any way, remember, we're not like our division of compliance. We're the good guys that reach out and try to help you guys navigate these challenging circumstances without consequence. And we are completely confidential, designed to help support you. So if we can, please visit our website, send us some emails, give us some phone calls, whatever you would like to do. But thank you for your time. And you guys have a great rest of your week.